everyone. I'm back in my studio in Germany after being in the US, in Redmond, visiting the team in last week and the week before that. And this week, obviously, we had the very exciting release of the Service Bus notification hubs. And so I spent most of my days this week, getting the tutorials together, etc. Last week, I also spoke with MK. He's going to say his name himself in the full glory. We call him MK. And MK is the development manager. He's the boss of all developers for Service Bus. We sat down and we talked about the roles of the developers on our team, and also what to expect if you're a junior member on the Service Bus team and get in, and what you get to own. So I hope that's an interesting thing. One thing that happened during the recording of this was, unfortunately, the camera cut out just before the last question, so the end is going to be somewhat abrupt, but I think nevertheless this about 12-minute clip is going to be interesting. Also, what am I going to have at the end, or actually what I have down here on the Channel 9 blog post, is a few links that you might be interested in, because we have job openings on the Service Bus team, and so you might want to go, if you're interested, you might want to go and take a look at those, because the most jobs we have open are actually on the dev team, and so that might be interesting. So enjoy the interview with MK. So today I have here, you say it.
Muralidhar Krishnaprasad. I go by MK for short.
Yeah, so that's what we call you, MK. Say that again. Yep. Just for me.
It's fine. You got it.
So, MK is the boss of all developers for Service Bus. So we're organized in this. Already mentioned that in the talk with Abhishek. We have this triad of
dev, test, and PM.
Exactly, and so your guys are building everything, and then Cesar, you haven't seen Cesar yet. It's coming. Or try to pick it apart.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That's right.
So we have a fairly interesting challenge in the Service Bus team, because we're shipping a fair number of things. We're shipping a service,
right?
But then we're also shipping a server.
That's right.
So walk me through the way how a developer kind of gets his work, and then kind of how that ends up in the product.
Sure. I think it's probably a long topic, but let's see how we attack it. I think first thing to understand is, like, what are all the things we're shipping, right? Mm-hmm. So typically the service ships on sort of a monthly or 6 weeks cadence, right? That's our typical ship cycle for the service. And even within that 6 weeks, we sometimes have hot fixes that come in, which could go once in a week or once in 2 weeks, right? So that's a typical kind of cadence for that. And then the server, interestingly enough, tries to ship around a 6-month cadence, right? And one of the interesting aspects of the server, I think we are, as you know, one of the few services which has a complete hybrid story. Yes. Maybe you have a service and a server, and actually the same SDK, the client, can actually work against both.
Yeah.
Right? And so that presents a bunch of challenges.
That's right.
And first of all, the way it works, I'm sure you've probably talked about it a bit before, the planning process is for every one of the 6-week milestone. We go through a planning process for a week or two, where we figure, okay, what can fit in that milestone, and what do we need to do, right? That's where the PMs come in, help figure out, okay, here's the priority for it, this is what we need to do, right? And these are either external commitments or fundamentals or new features that we would need to add. Right. And once that is determined, that milestone proceeds, but at the same time, we also have hot fixes that may come in as part of the life cycle. So the way we do it, we track it either as the current milestone delivery, what are all the work items left or the bugs left, right? And also in parallel, we track the hotfix delivery.
So life side is things that are happening
every day in, day out. Correct. And this was one of the things that I think we kind of had a bit of a challenge before, as to how do we figure out, like, the time needed for the life cycle, because life cycle can pretty much eat you up, right?
Yes, that's right.
If you don't. So one of the things I think now we're in a good state where what we have done is, for every week we have a servicing loop from dev, test, PM. For each one of the areas that we have sort of broker, we have relay, we have notifications, we have platform. So we actually have sort of a triad of people for each of the areas responsible for that feature, right?
So what we did, so we broke up Service Bus into separate areas of responsibility.
Right.
There's from a PM side there's a PM for one of those areas, but you actually group a little team of folks.
That's right.
Around
from a dev and test perspective.
Yes.
So like I mentioned, right, like broker deals with all some of the brokered messaging, news topics. Relay deals with all the relay functionality, notifications deal with all the push notifications, and then we have the platform which deals with all the monitoring, deployment, management of the service, and all the server artifacts, right, including portal. So that's kind of how it's divided. So then it was easy for us to then allocate people every week to say, okay, from this team, you three are responsible for the live site or whatever feature or whatever platform feature for that week. And so that actually made us the planning much better because we know we can rope those people off for that planning. So we know they cannot contribute to the coding or development or testing thereof, right? So that kind of made it a little more sane during planning.
So if I'm a developer on this team, what is how's my autonomy in the team? I mean, I get obviously there's things that need to be done kind of per the grand plan.
That's right.
But kind of the deliverable is effectively a line item and a notion of a feature that a PM specs out. And the specs are not 100-page documents these days, they're just smaller.
Correct.
But then the dev is basically, it's up to the dev for how to do this, right?
That's right. I think the way it works is in some sense that triad takes over even at that level, right? So it's not like some IC running around somewhere trying to figure out what to do. So as like we talked about, we divided the feature areas themselves, right?
Yes.
And within the feature, also there is sort of a triad, right?
Yes.
Let's say we take a specific feature like, I don't know, like message browse, right? There will be like a PM owner for it, there is a dev owner that I see who is responsible for the feature, and there's a test owner for that, right? Those three get together to then figure out what needs to be built, how should we build it, and how should we test it, and when should we release it, is it ready or not, right? But so in that sense, yes, the dev has a certain amount of autonomy on how to design the stuff, how to get it out, subject to the thing that there is some plan around, hey, we need to get this feature out by this time, right?
Yes. But as the kind of, so me being the, let's say, long-term strategy architect, and you being the day-to-day, actually factual, back-end feature architect. I mean, that's kind of our role. How we split the roles between ourselves. We don't get into too much in the way of how that works. I mean, they come to us and ask us.
Correct. So in some sense, I think we are all just guiding people, right?
Yes.
We're not trying to tell them, okay, you do this code, you should do it this way, right? It's more of a making sure people take the whole thing into account, right?
Yes.
Like, because you're doing one feature, it definitely affects everything else, right?
Yes.
How do you know what you're doing and how does it affect everything else? And making sure the process doesn't get in the way of doing good software.
So there's a check. I think the best way to describe it is this checks and balances thing.
That's right.
Where the team is doing their work and our developers are not coders. They own the design of a particular piece.
Exactly.
And then there's
they own the design, they own the development, and the follow-up of it, the maintenance of it.
Yes.
If there are issues with it, they are really responsible.
Yeah, they don't hand this off to
someone else to service. Actually, that's a big difference, right, between a server and a service.
It used to be like
that, right? You have SC or other teams taking over, but no longer the case.
I mean, you see the actually with the on-premises software, it kind of still is sometimes like this.
Correct.
New things get developed.
Right.
And then
it gets handed off.
Everybody has a party.
Yeah.
And then they all leave for greater challenges. And then there's a servicing team that takes over and just deals with the bugs.
That's right.
And so we don't have
We don't have that. So in some sense, every code that goes in, the person writing it is really responsible.
Yes, you're on the hook.
Right.
Yes.
Right. And in some sense, that actually is leading to different kinds of coding as well, right? Which is a lot more tracing, a lot more rigor in terms of what you're doing, because it's going to come and bite like right away.
Yeah, I mean, if the system goes down on a Sunday, like
nobody wants to be woken up at 3 a.m.
That's 3 a.m. in the morning on a Sunday, and and nobody knows how that's well, your phone will ring because that's your bug.
That's right.
And and I think that's a good way to kind of build the right muscle. And then the fact that everybody goes on that servicing loop is actually helping.
In fact, see, that's another interesting thing I've learned, right? Like building a service. I think this is my fundamental understanding is that a lot of what we know in traditional software is what to do, how to write code the right way. But in service, it's often the other way. You got to be more careful of the exceptions and making sure you do all the other things that you are probably never in universities or wherever. We don't deal with exception handling as one of the courses or one of the big things, right?
Yeah, that's
in service, I found that it's really the other way. It's not about what you know. It's really how to handle the code. You can't just fail fast. every fail-fast costs you a 0.01 in your reliability, right?
Yeah, I did a talk in Belgium that I also referenced from my blog. They did a 3-hour recording of this,
Right.
which I started with an iceberg, a picture of an iceberg where you only see the features that we build are really like the little tip of the iceberg that comes
Right.
out and sits in the
Right,
sunlight.
right, the
But
real
then
stuff
all
is-
this
yes.
other stuff sits under the covers, and even in the code, if you count lines, then the actual feature.
Right.
It's just a
probably-
minuscule part of
that
what we
everything
right.
scaffolding around it, right?
Yes.
In fact, I think we learn more about what not to do more than what to do, because what to do, in the traditional sense, it's like what not to do. I think is a big learning in some sense.
So if someone were to be interested in working here,
Oh yeah, we have lots of lots.
Yeah, so-
absolutely apply right now.
so first of all, we have open positions,
we have
right?
open positions. Yes.
What's I mean, we have in the development team. There's a structure of there's junior people and there's
Right.
more senior people.
right.
Senior people who come into the team who are senior because they have built up the skills of knowing how
Right.
to work in an environment like this, or senior people just because
That's
they've been here for a while.
Right.
What's the progression when you come? Let's say you come out of college and you join the
Very,
team.
very good question. So, it's in some sense a follow up from your previous question as well, right? In some sense, all the senior people are there to lead and help you prioritize your decisions, not come in the way of making the calls, right? And as a college student, when you come in, you're gonna start on some small project, right? And based on how much you can do, you're gonna get bigger and bigger projects and how successful you are.
Yes.
And even I think probably the lowest level person we have actually owns a fairly big feature because we are a fairly small team, right?
Yeah.
So in that sense, there's a lot of learning to be had. And one of the good thing about Service Bus, you probably covered it, it's both a platform and an end user service.
Yes.
Right? Meaning customers are directly using us as a service from devices, from clients, from servers,
Right.
from Azure, everywhere, right? And also we are a platform for a lot of the other services like Office and other things that are built on us, right? So in that sense, we get the best of both worlds. So as a dev or as a test or a PM, you get exposed to all of this, customer calls or platform calls. And so your skill set, you sort of grow in how do you run a service at scale across all the data centers in the world, built on rather VMs that may disappear on you anytime, built on all the other technologies in the cloud that you need to be resilient about. And also learn about how to build a platform, build a new cloud platform, because that's the new thing that all the companies are trying to
Yes,
do,
right.
right? So those skill sets it grows on you, right? You learn. So then as a dev, whether you're senior or junior, you come in, the first thing is you get your hands fed, right? You start building these projects, there are enough projects, right? And as you go through milestones, you learn what to do, what not to do, and with the guidance of all the other senior folks out there,
Yes.
right? You just be successful and you just go through the ranks, and then you can be that senior person one day.
Yes, but also and I think in the dev world, like if you are really into coding,
Right.
unless you are you.
Coding
Which-
is important. Yeah.
Yeah, but unless you're really the manager of managers, which you are,
Right.
like everybody's coding.
Oh yeah, everybody's coding, including the leads, right? So pretty much, yes, coding is one of the key things that we need, obviously, right, as a dev. And it's also understanding the design, not just blind coding, but also
Yeah.
understanding the implications of what you do. I think that's equally important.
Oops. So, unfortunately, the camera cut out, as I said, so that's as much as we have. But I thought it's interesting, and again, at this post at the bottom, there's a few links that you might want to follow, and otherwise, if you're interested in working in the Windows Azure team in Redmond, you can go to careers.microsoft.com and search for Windows Azure, and there's a broad number of opportunities to come and help out.